Amen. We need more people like Representative Gill in Congress. God bless that man.
This administration claims to care about rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, but the facts tell a very different story. So I just want to set the record straight. On week 1, President Trump fired 17 inspectors general. These are the folks who work on behalf of the people, Republicans and Democrats, regardless of party affiliation or who is in the White House. They are the watchdogs who root out government waste, fraud, and abuse day in and day out. If Donald Trump and Elon Musk cared about cracking down on waste, they would be talking to these auditors, not firing them right out of the gate. So if Trump was serious about efficiency, it would focus on implementing the thousands of outstanding GAO recommendations, including the 38 areas on the high risk list. But that's not what's happening. Instead, Trump created the redundant Department of Government Efficiency, putting his billionaire campaign donor, Elon Musk, who just so happens to be a government contractor, in charge. That's not efficiency. That's corruption dressed up as reform.
So, obviously there's been a lot of conversation today in this committee about the actions that are being taken pursuant to DOGE by Elon Musk and this indiscriminate funding freezes that is happening, the dismantling of these programs, the hacking of federal data, and the mass firings. And we know that there's more that are planned for this week. But unfortunately, we don't exactly know what Elon Musk has actually been up to because he won't come to this committee. And in fact, our Republican colleagues have shielded him from having to appear. But he did appear over the weekend at CPAC at their political action event that was held here in the Washington area. And, here he is. He was wielding a chainsaw with the Argentinian leader. And I'll just say, as somebody who grew up working construction, I know what two dudes who don't know what to do with a chainsaw look like. But it's also obvious that these guys actually don't also know how to manage a federal government and how to address high-risk areas where we actually do need to address issues of waste, fraud, and abuse. And in fact, because I worked at OMB, I know that not only are they not addressing these issues, they're looting the federal government and breaking the law daily. I mean, the reality is that this guy right here, who is an unelected billionaire, is literally looting the federal government right now, and he has no idea what he's doing. He's not even addressing the fundamental problems that have been identified by our nonpartisan watchdog. So what these guys are up to is not about government efficiency. It's about looting the American people in the Treasury to pay for billionaire tax cuts. With that, I yield back.
Now it's Mr. Gill from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this hearing today. I'd like to start by addressing a few of the concerns that our colleagues have had on the other side of the aisle about the DOGE movement and Elon Musk in particular. And first, they're telling us that what DOGE and Elon Musk are doing by firing federal workers, many of whom aren't showing up to work to begin with, is somehow cruel. And I'd like to say that perhaps what is actually cruel is bankrupting our country by funding a federal workforce that isn't working. What is cruel is driving up inflation by spending more money than our federal government has, harming working class families across the country. What's cruel is consolidating power in an undemocratic administrative state that doesn't answer to anybody, apparently, if they had their way. No federal worker has a right to work for the U.S. government, but our children do have a birthright to inherit a country that isn't bankrupt. And that is what House Republicans and President Trump and Elon Musk are trying to do by cutting out waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal government. What Elon Musk is doing isn't cruelty, it's altruism. And it's the first time anybody has been able to actually right-size our federal budget. And we should be applauding him, regardless of which side of the aisle we sit on. I'd also like to address the idea that Elon Musk and President Trump are somehow corrupt in right-sizing the federal government. If you want to know where the real corruption is, let's look at which side of the aisle has been benefiting from this slush fund that we've been giving giving out with very little accountability. It tends to be left-wing pet projects, left-wing media like NPR and PBS, who always routinely run cover for Democrats while attacking Republicans. It's left-wing advocacy groups and NGOs that are taking our tax dollars and promoting DEI programs and transgender surgeries and girl-powered climate action, whatever that means. These are all left-wing movements that are being funded by our tax dollars. And it raises the question of how successful would the leftist political movement be in America if it weren't for the fact that their whole movement is subsidized by taxpayers. That is what corruption is. And we're finding out now recently that Stacey Abrams is part of the grift as well. Apparently, the EPA gave $2 billion to a group called Power Forward Communities that was funded in late 2023 and had only reported $100 in total revenue. Power Forward Communities had no business managing a grant that large, of course, but they were appealing for Democrats. The co-chair of Power Forward Communities is Sean Donovan, who previously served as Barack Obama's director of HUD and OMB. And we also know that Stacey Abrams is senior counsel for one of the coalition groups called Renewing America affiliated with this. That is corruption, and that's the waste that we're trying to root out here. They talk a lot about Elon Musk and DOGE and having access to American data. Remember, Biden let 53 unpaid researchers and students have full access to the American people's data at the IRS, and there was no outrage then. We're learning now that the Biden IRS leaked taxpayer information. We were told last year that it was only for, I say only, for 70,000 Americans. We're finding out today it was actually 405,000 Americans. That's the kind of access to data that I'm concerned about, and it's being leaked to a left-wing news outlet that's partially funded by George Soros. These are the questions we should be asking and we should be raising. They like to talk, I think, disingenuously and very hyperbolically about President Trump being a dictator. As they know, Article 2 of the Constitution says that the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America, not in a technocratic, undemocratic, unelected administrative state that they've been propping up for so long. We're a republic, not a European-style technocracy. And that's why our country is the global leader and Europe is not. But for decades, we've watched as this administrative state has metastasized and acts with incredible leftist fervor and has no accountability. What President Trump and Elon Musk are doing is returning our country back to its democratic roots, restoring constitutional order in this country, and that's why we should be supporting them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields.